Well, I'd like to introduce Shannon Palonis. Shannon, what's your title with RoboFest now?
I am newly minted assistant director at Lawrence Tech Robofest.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit to sort of get the ball rolling to introduce RoboFest. RoboFest was started as a robotics competition in 1999 by an LTU computer science professor, CJ Chung, who is still with the university as a professor, though he has relinquished day-to-day management of RoboFest. And it basically aims to be a robotics competition with very low barriers to entry and a robotics competition that is more in the spirit of the way robots are used in the real world. So, Shannon, we're kicking off the 25th season of RoboFest. And tell us a little bit. There's like 6 or 8 different competitions that are part of RoboFest, but talk to us about the most popular one, which is the annual RoboFest game. So, what's this year's game?
This year's game is it's called Autonomous Taxi. They're fixed rules within certain parameters. The teams have to develop a robot to pick up passengers, which are white golf balls, and also a food delivery, which is an orange golf ball on a 6 foot lifetime table. There are boxes placed in various locations off the table on the floor. And so the robot has to deliver the balls based on a unknown task sheet that they get at the beginning of the competition. So the passengers have to be delivered to a certain location. One of the boxes also has a second floor, so there is a lifting and placing element, a mechanical element for the robot to try to achieve. And then there's also some other elements on the table that the robot has to avoid. We're calling them pedestrians, but they're basically D-cell batteries. So very, very low, like you said, very low cost. Elements are all things you can purchase off the shelf. There's a little bit of assembly required this year, but we also have ways to help teams find those materials.
Sure. And what kind of robot kits and software can be used?
Any robot kit and any software can be used for most of our categories.
So these are the smaller Lego style robots,
Yes,
correct?
Lego, Spike Prime, EV3, and then Vex IQ can be used. The newer generation Vex robots can also be used, and any programming language is also allowed. We don't restrict any teams for most of the categories. There are some that have some parameters to even the playing field to some degree, but yeah, that most teams can start with any robot kit they have sitting on their shelf.
Yeah, and these robot kits cost the cost is quite reasonable. It's a few $100s, right?
We around $400. Yeah, the cost has gone up a little bit in the last couple of years. And we also recommend that teams purchase a couple of extra items, an extra sensor here or there, just depending on the rules of the category that they're participating in.
But we do have some sponsors that are willing to provide financial assistance to teams, right?
We do. We have the Michigan Council of Women in Technology. They sponsor all girl RoboFest teams in Michigan. And this year we are so excited to be announcing that we are participating in the 99H state of Michigan from the Michigan Department of Education grants available. This has been around for a while. It was called the First Robotics Grant when it started, and it's over time it's added a few more providers, and we are now on the list of providers for up to $1,200 per team for funding, which includes registration fees, t-shirts, food for practices, travel, things like that. And it's, all of the state of Michigan. Registration is required by the end of December. So if you're interested in participating in that, we need to get you registered, but we're happy to help in any way.
And I
So talk
understand that there's scholarships available as well, right?
Oh, yes, yes. This is another exciting thing that's new this year. Last year at the World Championship events, we presented scholarship certificates to all of the senior participants on certain game teams, certain categories. But this year we're expanding it a little bit, and we also have an event coming up in November for scholarship opportunities, an unknown mission challenge event for high school students. So that's our big push right now in the fall, is to really introduce Lawrence Tech through RoboFest.
Yeah, the scholarship is pretty substantial. For winning teams, it's 17,000 a year for 4 years, so that's $68,000 total. That'll
Yes,
take a big chunk out of your college expenses if you get one of those.
yes.
Talk about some of the other competitions that are part of RoboFest. The one that's always fascinated me is the exhibition category, which sounds like which sounds like it doesn't really count, right? Exhibition games don't count. But in this case, you're really giving students the freedom to build a robot to do anything that they might find interesting, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The exhibition category is another qualifier. Teams are able to present any problem that they want to solve using robots. They can build a very elaborate project, or they can be a simple project. It's up to the team. As long as they have a way to interact somehow with the robots. We really encourage robot to robot interaction and human to robot interaction. We've had seen teams feed zoo animals, and we've had teams make peanut butter sandwiches. Just a lot of things that students want to solve. A couple years ago, one of the winning teams, they developed a robot to play cornhole. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a real world problem. I mean, if your real world problem is you want to get better or beat another team at cornhole, that's a problem we're solving, right?
Sure.
Huh.
Yeah, I saw one. I remember seeing one a few years ago where they were trying to build a robot that would help on a farm, like measure soil moisture and nitrogen content, stuff like that.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think I don't think they got to measuring the nitrogen content. That was a little sophisticated, but they did have one that could measure moisture, which I thought was pretty
Mhm.
cool. So it told you when to water the plants, basically.
Yeah. Yes, and that's something that we're trying to incorporate this year. The Robo Parade competition just kind of eases into that. The theme for this year's Robo Parade is on the farm. So it's not, they're not solving problems with Robo Parade. It's more of a arts competition. The robot does have to do certain things as far as follow a line and start and stop and not run into other robots on the parade route, but the students get to decorate the parade floats like something on the farm, whether it's animals or implementation or anything that they can do or fun things like that. So we're also trying to start a new relationship with I believe it's the Michigan Dairy Farmers Association has expressed an interest in working with us in the future and perhaps even sponsoring us. So we thought we would encourage that relationship by using on the farm as our theme for parade this year.
So there's a couple of other competitions I wanted to make sure that we mentioned too that I thought were pretty interesting. And that's RoboMed. So talk about RoboMed a little bit.
Sure. RoboMed, and there's another one, Robo Arts. They're exhibition style competitions. But unlike exhibition where anything goes, RoboMed is specific to biomedical engineering implementation, things that are related to healthcare. And that's we have some new technical committees this year, and the colleges, the university's biomedical engineering department is participating very heavily in judging and working with the students to improve our technical quality of that projects based competition. And then Robo Arts is along the same lines as the exhibition problem solving, but it's to create something that goes whether it's kinetic sculptures or storytelling or music, things like that students can perform with robotics.
So talk a little bit about the global nature of this competition, if you could, please. I've always been astounded that it really is worldwide, right? And when you have conference calls, there's, the conference call will be at 9 in the morning, and in some places it's 10 at night, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we try to accommodate our international partners as much as we can. We are currently working with several countries that have been around for a long time, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, Korea, We have a lot of new countries that are coming on. Last year we had Jordan and Uzbekistan and there was another couple of new ones last year, and this year I've already gotten contacts from Nepal and Kenya, and so there's a lot of new interest in countries beginning a new program in their countries for their students. So the educational aspect of Robofest is what we truly love about the program, is that we encourage students to learn in a very easy way. They learn by doing, and we try to make our competitions, low key. There's not a lot of pressure. Well, some competitions you have like cheering sections, and it's so loud, and there's music blaring, and we don't find that as comforting to the students. We want the students to truly use this as like a learning activity, and it's almost like a college level class where they come in and they're doing programming and coding and building, and they're learning basically how to college, or how to code robots. It's all computer science based and autonomous, so it's a lot of brain power versus the thumb power of the of the controllers that some of the other competitions use.
Right.
Let me ask real quick before we get to the end. AI is impacting everything. Are you seeing AI impacting RoboFest going forward?
Absolutely. We are actually conducting some AI workshops. We just had one last month, and we are also planning one for RoboFest participants coming up in, I think it's January, February. It's more for the exhibition style events, where, like Matt was mentioning, the testing of nitrogen and phosphorus and moisture in the farm setting. AI can do a lot of learning, and based on things that the robot learns, or the software learns, to make changes. I'm not a roboticist, so I'm not really the person to speak to that, but I do know that we are expanding our offerings and encouraging our teams to learn AI and machine learning, and to implement those skills into their exhibition style projects.
And I know Saturday before last, CJ actually hosted a machine learning programming
Yes.
for beginners. And it was astonishing, really, to see what appeared to be elementary school kids
Yes.
starting to write machine learning AI software. That was a little scary, but fun. So,
Well, I know that the AI, everyone's talking about it being a big, concern, like Skynet, is it going to kill us all, or wipe us out? But I think if the more we all learn about it, the more we all know, I think the more comfortable that the next generation will be using it in their day-to-day without, making it seem so overwhelming.
So we won't hear Arnold Schwarzenegger say, "I'll be back." Yes.
Mhm.
That was the first thing when we started talking about AI last year. Matt and I brought that up immediately. We all watched those movies, right?
Yeah.
And there's big speculation. There's a lot of concern out there in the community, particularly among the AI experts, because we don't know where this is going, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, it's a concern. I know. I'm like I said, I wish I knew more about that. I do the management of the program. I wish I could do more of the in-depth training and presenting of those skills, but I rely on the experts that work with me to help us navigate all those challenges.
all
okay.
right. So we've got a little over a minute left. So I wanted to end by letting you give people information on how they can learn more about RoboFest, how to form a team, tips for coaches, event schedule. I know we've got some workshops coming up for beginning teams, which would be very valuable to someone just starting out at this. So where do people learn more about all this wonderful stuff?
Thanks. They can go to our website, robofest.net. That's if you scroll to the very bottom of the page, there's a field where you can add your email address to subscribe to our newsletter. We try very hard to keep people up to date through that forum, and especially with upcoming workshops and kickoff dates, things like that. But definitely, if teams are interested in getting started. I'm always available. You can email us at robofest@ltu.edu. I try very hard to turn things around with a couple business days. We take things very personally here. We really want to help everybody who is asking for help. So I'd really love to see some new teams this year. And with the 99H grant, I'm seeing some momentum starting with some of our teams to participate and build more teams.